Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the Northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us on the programme this evening.
Why are pregnant women still being prescribed a drug that can harm unborn babies 2 years after the risks were laid bare? We have a special report.
This is still continuing today as we do this interview. Women are not being warned of the risk.
The Mayor of Liverpool looks set to take over the council's £1 billion budget after mistakes cost the taxpayers billions in energy bills. But critics say Joanne Anderson, bankrupt twice, is not fit for the job.
Pop music is distilled emotion. That's the way it hits you first. The feeling hits you, the tune hits you, and then you think about the words, and then you think about the other stuff. So there's a lot in there.
A deep dive into the archives as a brand new exhibition on British pop opens in Manchester.
And we're nearer next weekend than we are last weekend. So the big question is, what's the weather going to be like for the rest of this week and the weekend? I'll let you know a little later on.
Well, first tonight, and two mothers from the Northwest say the government's failed to act on warnings about a medicine linked to lifelong disabilities in children.
It's called sodium valproate. It treats epilepsy and bipolar disorder. 2 years ago, though, an independent review confirmed it caused avoidable harm to babies during pregnancy.
But some women are still taking the medicine without knowing the risks. Our political correspondent, Alicia Manelli, has this report.
Janet and Emma were told this medication could help save their lives. They weren't told it could harm their children's, all born with lifelong disabilities after being exposed to the drug in the womb.
Quite devastating, really, to know that a medication you prescribed is not safe and that there was no warnings with that. I've got obviously 5 children and they're all affected differently. Diagnosis of epilepsy, cerebral palsy, incontinence, deafness, speech and language delay, valgus foot, sensory processing disorder. And we know it's not our fault, but it doesn't take that feeling of guilt away. To watch your children struggle every day, it's hard.
Janet was also prescribed sodium valproate while pregnant with her sons. Both have what's now known as fetal valproate spectrum disorder. It can include a range of conditions, including birth defects, developmental delays and autism, and is thought to affect around 20,000 people across the UK.
They were both diagnosed at birth, but we weren't told that they both got this condition. Well, you can imagine how stressful it's been, because you want to help the boys as much as you can, but there's lots of things that we didn't understand about it at that point. All you can do is try and guide them and just give them the basic explanation when questions pop up. But it's been really stressful for us to watch the boys go through this.
Janet and Emma have spent more than a decade pushing officials for answers about the use of this drug in pregnant women. 2 years ago, they thought their fight was finally over.
These interventions had caused avoidable harm to thousands of people.
An independent review led by Baroness Cumberledge set out 9 recommendations for the government, saying there must be an urgent apology, compensation and improvements to patient safety and treatments. But so far, only 4 out of 9 have been implemented, and there's no sign of any money for the many thousands of affected families. The recommendation to help people pay for ongoing care remains only under consideration, and the government rejected the need for an independent agency to oversee that redress. The lack of financial help leaves many parents facing an unthinkable future.
You don't want your child ending up in an institution when you've gone. Unless we can get that support put in place for them before that happens. I mean, I'm 57, my husband's 60. So, you know, we've got another 10, 15 years tops to actually deal with this and get things set in stone and right for them. Because without that help and support, they're going to really struggle.
When you think about your sons, what's it like to think of them maybe having to go into an institution?
It feels like such a waste. No, I mean, this is why this campaign is so important. I couldn't bear the thought of that happening, and that's what this was all about when it comes to the campaign, because there's going to be so many children in that position. We need to make sure that these children have the correct support in place.
And it's thought that more mothers will be left fighting for support, allowed to become pregnant without being told of the risks. NHS guidelines now say that sodium valproate should not be prescribed to women unless they're on a pregnancy prevention programme with an annual checkup from their doctor. The drug should come in boxes which are clearly marked with a warning label and a patient information leaflet. But campaigners warn this isn't happening across the board. Janet and Emma say they've spoken to multiple women whose prescriptions have been given to them in unmarked chemist boxes with no accompanying information.
It's just devastating to think that this is still continuing today. As we do this interview, women are not being warned of the risk, and through our campaigning we changed medicine regulation, and we were delighted at that. We thought we'd cracked it. We thought women would be informed, they'd be given an informed choice. And to know that that's not happening today, that's just scandalous.
Around 6 babies every month are being born in the UK having been exposed to the drug. All the more reason to get a support scheme in place, according to Janet's MP. But she says she's coming up against surprising barriers in her fight for her constituents.
It feels a bit like the Department for Health and Social Care and the government generally is stonewalling. So we have seen freedom of information requests which have been really clear that civil servants are advising ministers not to meet me on this issue. To be honest, I found it really frustrating. I just think that the scale of the scandal is so huge that this should be taken a priority in terms of the government's response to make sure it doesn't happen again. But we have a lot of victims of this who are not getting the support they need. The state owes it to these families and to these victims because the state covered this up for decades.
This week, the Lancaster and Fleetwood MP raised the issue again in the Commons.
There are plans that we are looking closely at, and when we are ready, we will come to this House.
Janet and Emma say their children deserve to be heard. They met with the Health Minister on Monday and plan to keep fighting for the help they feel has been denied to far too many for far too long. Leisha McNally, ITV News.
And our thanks to them for talking to us. Well, we approached the Department of Health and Social Care about Leisha's report tonight. We have yet to receive a response. Well, moving on to other news now. A judge has granted permission for a full judicial review into the inquest of Yusuf Maki, the teenager who died after he was stabbed in Hale Barnes 4 years ago. A coroner recorded a narrative conclusion, ruling she could not be sure of the exact circumstances in which Yusuf died. His family have now been told that it could be looked at again. And there's more on that, including reaction from Yusuf's family, on our website at itv.com/Granada.
2 men from Rochdale have been arrested after a police officer was seriously injured while searching a van in Merseyside last night. The policeman spotted the Ford Transit after a bag containing drugs was found in Hewitt Avenue in St Helens. As he reached inside, the driver set off, dragging the officer along the road with him. He's in a stable condition and recovering in hospital.
An investigation is underway after an explosion at a block of flats in West Lancashire. Emergency services were called to Tanfields in Skelmersdale last night. 3 people had to be taken to hospital as a precaution, but none is seriously injured.
Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has praised Blackpool player Jake Daniels, who this week became the first professional footballer to come out as gay in 30 years. 17-year-old Daniels has been met with an outpouring of support since his decision to go public. Klopp said watching the interview made him feel proud of the young player.
He didn't want to hide anymore. Good. Exactly the right way to do it. I don't know him, but I'm really proud of him. And it was an important step. We live in 2022, that we have to make such a big thing of it. It's crazy, but we're getting there. It's a good start, and now I hope others will follow. Really happy for him. It was like he sat there and said what he said, and I thought, oh my God, he's really now exactly where he wants to be, absolutely top class.
Very well said. As you can imagine, Klopp is also pretty happy with last night's result for them. More on that and the build-up to the Premier League decider on Sunday. All that's coming up later in Sport with Mike. Well, next tonight, the latest on what's being described as a calamitous mistake that's left council taxpayers in Liverpool with an energy bill that runs into millions of pounds.
Yeah, Liverpool's Mayor Joanne Anderson is set to remove her key ally from the chief finance role and take over the budget herself.
Yeah, but opposition councillors are questioning whether the mayor, who's been bankrupt twice in her own personal finances, should oversee the council's budget of £1 billion. One councillor says it's like getting a fox to guard a chicken coop.
Let's cross live now to our correspondent Elaine Wilcox, who's at the town hall. And Elaine, an emergency meeting is underway there.
Yes, that's right. As energy prices soar, this is expected to be a very heated meeting this evening. It is still being chaired by Councillor Jane Corbett, who is being removed from her finance role next week, with Mayor Joanne Anderson proposing taking over the budget. This is all in the council, unlike many households who have managed to switch their energy deals. Liverpool Council didn't. They didn't manage to get a fixed deal, but they have been stuck on a variable deal, which is costing the council millions of pounds. Well, today, the Liberal Democrat leader has publicly questioned whether Councillor Mayor Anderson should take over this role because she has been bankrupt twice. Now, we wanted to put that to Mayor Anderson, but she's not been available for interview. But she has tweeted in response. She said, "So I've never failed a business, Richard. Struggling to keep things together as a single parent and professional incompetence are two very different things. Being poor is not something you understand," she says. But we did manage to speak to her deputy, who was limited in what she could say because she says they are waiting for 2 reports to show exactly what happened.
We need to show that we know what we're doing, we've learnt those lessons and move forward. I'm still Deputy Mayor and the Cabinet roles are quite clear. I'm also, the thing I love is fairness and tackling poverty. So that's what myself and the Mayor have been talking about, moving me on to being able to have more time for that. The Mayor's going to have a bit of a team round her to take this on, and I'm still in position anyway until the AGM next week.
Well, the Lib Dem leader has been stinging in his response.
I think it's a bit like a fox being let loose in the chicken coop. There's £1.1 billion worth of budget that she's going to be responsible for, and she can't look after her own personal budget twice, not once but twice, then how do we think she can look after £1.1 billion?
Well, for residents struggling with their bills, there's been fury on and off camera.
Our budget is already as low as it can possibly get. Services have been shut down or reduced and things like this, and this is just more money wasted and less money for people that really need it.
You'd think with it being your own Liverpool City Council, they'd be able to do a lot more for the people who live here.
Does it make you angry?
Not angry, just disappointed the way things have turned out. They should be more in control and more balance the books properly than what they're doing.
Well, the council is now looking to secure a new deal by July with help negotiated by the government, but that's little comfort for those struggling and when they're seeing millions being wasted at the moment.
OK, Elaine in Liverpool, thank you. Lots to come on the programme, including...
TV star Shobna Gulati and her son Akshay give us their very first interview together as they prepare to share the stage.
And it wasn't a bad day up at the Singing Ringing Tree near Burnley, but the question is, what's the weather going to be like for the rest of this week and the weekend? I'll have answers to those questions a little later on.
Now, from tomorrow, treasures from recently created British pop archives will be on display in Manchester.
Yeah, they include handwritten lyrics to Joy Division classics from Ian Curtis and artefacts from the Cobbles.
The collection has been hailed as the first of its kind, and our correspondent Anne O'Connor has been to the John Rylands Library to see more.
Down the decorative hall from a Dante exhibition, John Rylands is showing the highlights of its recently created pop archive.
It's very analogue. There's nothing digital here. It's notes in a book. It's scrawled stuff on bits of paper.
It includes the original handwritten lyrics of Joy Division's Ian Curtis.
And she gave away the secrets of her past and said she's lost control again.
Music journalist and now Professor of Pop John Savage helped curate what's called The Collection, including memorabilia from the Hacienda where he DJ'd.
Pop music is distilled emotion. That's the way it hits you first. The feeling hits you, the tune hits you, and then you think about the words, and then you think about the other stuff. So there's a lot in there. And the people that make popular music, the people that help to shape popular music, the people who consume popular music, the fans, all take it very seriously. So why not take it seriously? And people still say, well, you know, why have you got this in the John Rylands? And, well, why wouldn't you?
His favourites include the very un-rock and roll lists of Joy Division's late manager Rob Gretton,
in which he talks in great detail, first off, about you know, the nitty-gritty of running a group, which he did, and it's not all glamour. So there's stuff about take shirt today to dry cleaners, fill in insurance form.
John worked at Granada Television in 1979, helped in by Tony Wilson, who wanted him to write about his bands and later his factory label. The archive includes hundreds of programme and business notes from the Manchester-based station. It's all been backed by Johnny Marr, who's lent his Smiths Days guitar used to compose some of their classics.
But I haven't got a stitch to
Hannah Barker is another curator, a social historian, more used to 18th century material, but bowled over by this.
Popular culture is important because it matters to people, and it doesn't matter if we're talking about the 18th century or the 20th century. If it's important to people, if it made a difference to their lives, then we're interested in it in the British Pop Archive. It doesn't matter if it's something cool like Factory or something that's supposedly less cool. If it has an emotional resonance for people, if it changed their lives, if people bought it, then we're interested in it.
It opens tomorrow until January, and it's free. Anne O'Connor, ITV News in Manchester.
All those memories.
Yeah, great memories there, and lovely to see Tony Wilson remembered so fondly there.
England midfielder Jill Scott is to leave Manchester City this summer when her contract comes to an end. The 35-year-old joined City ahead of their first season as a professional outfit in 2014 and has gone on to make nearly 200 appearances for the club, helping them win the 2016 Super League title, 3 FA Cups and 3 League Cups.
I think it's a bit surreal, to be honest. I probably never thought that I'd be here saying goodbye to Manchester City, but I suppose that's football. Some great memories along the way that I suppose no one can take away from us, and yeah, as you say, all good things must come to an end.
To cricket, and he is back. Lancashire's James Anderson has been recalled by England for the forthcoming Test matches against New Zealand. England's all-time leading wicket-taker was left out of the tour of the West Indies in March, but has today been named in a 13-man squad for next month's first Test.
Getting that winning feeling. FOW, sponsors of the Granada Sport Report.
And finally, to the athletes representing the Isle of Man at the biggest Special Olympics event since the start of the COVID pandemic. The Invitational Games for athletes with intellectual disabilities have been taking place throughout the week in Malta. Around 1,000 athletes have been competing across 6 different sports, including football, in which the Isle of Man have won a bronze medal, thanks in no small part to Mark Henry here, scoring a hat-trick on his birthday.
You've scored 3 goals. What else now?
I'm just gonna take it. I'm just gonna relax now, mate. To be honest.
Gonna relax. Yeah. Fair enough. Will you get a cake? Are you allowed a cake?
Yeah, I am sort of. They're all buzzing. The fact that we're all in the hotel with all the other athletes from all over the world. Everyone's in their tracksuits. So yeah, huge experience for them. A chance to meet athletes from all over the world. It's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant event, and well done to Mark there. A hat-trick on your birthday. Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Yeah, very happy birthday to him. Was a happy birthday. Brilliant achievement by him. Thanks, Mike.
OK, here's what's still to come on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up on the programme, inflation surges to a 40-year high, leaving us all feeling the squeeze. The Prime Minister has vowed to look at measures to help, but is it time for more actions and not just words? After Natasha's Law, now a new clinical trial to help people with severe food allergies. Pet owners are told to stop buying pugs. We'll explain why. And
what's going to happen tonight?
We're going to win. We're going to take that trophy home.
Rangers fans flocked to Spain for their first European final in more than a decade. We will be live in Seville. Would you join me for those stories and much more at 6:30?
Yeah, a lot of exciting football going on at the moment. Now then, what is the secret to working with family? Patience, space, a referee, a sense of humour?
Got to be patience. Patience, surely. According to one of our region's best-loved actors, Shobna Gulati, it's all about being equals.
Yeah, Shobna, of course, shot to fame as Anita in Dinner Ladies and then Sunita in Corrie. Now she's taking to the stage with her real-life son, Akshay, in their first production together.
They star in The Rise and Fall of Little Voice this week at the Liverpool Playhouse before heading to Salford and Blackpool. Our entertainment correspondent, Caroline Whitmore, has been chatting to them.
Get ready for the judgment day.
Well, get ready for Shobna and Akshay Gulati, your very first production together.
And our very first interview together.
And your very first interview together, obviously mother and son. Shobna, this must be a dream come true for you.
You know, when he was growing up, I thought he might be a doctor. But, you know, he misspelt it and ended up an actor. You know, so here we go.
Performing in The Rise and Fall of Little Voice, aren't you?
Indeed.
And you're at the Liverpool Playhouse, you're at the Lowry, and you're at the Blackpool Grand.
Yeah.
So is it nice for you working with your mum?
Yeah, it's been lovely.
Speak the truth.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, with your family there's always sort of like challenges. I'm really lucky to have someone so experienced and worldly.
In the rehearsal room, it's not mother and son, is it? It's two actors. And that's been very interesting, to relinquish that control of being his mum. We can't forget being mother and son, but we kind of have to.
I think that, you know, we first remember you in Dinner Ladies and obviously Coronation Street, and more recently everybody's talking about Jamie.
Jamie New.
Me?
What do you want to be?
A performer.
What for you is your proudest moment of your mum?
Proudest moment of my mum? We had the Jamie premiere in summer last year and I was just like, I don't know, immensely proud.
From my perspective as an actor, to have the opportunity to play it now, I mean, given my cultural background, given all of those things, the struggle that I've faced as an actor of colour, it's just something that I've always dreamed. You know, you watch your friends do it and think, well, I'd love to do that at some point. And it's come.
It's interesting hearing you say, though, that you have struggled as a woman, as an actress of colour. Because for us on the outside looking in, it doesn't, you know, like the amount of things you've done.
It's about classic plays and period drama and stuff like that in terms of how they've widened the casting net. And it's not necessarily now about the colour of my skin. It's about the ability to play the part. And that's all that I've ever wanted. It's all voice, you know. We don't have mics on stage.
Shobna's losing her voice in Little Voice.
Because there's a lot of shouting.
Did she do a lot of shouting when you were growing up then? Let's get to the nitty-gritty, Akshay.
To be fair,
To be fair, Cal.
But, you know, it wasn't for no reason. You know, often I
Exactly.
probably needed to be shouted at.
Now and again.
Now and again.
You know, we all make mistakes, I think, parents. It's hard being a parent, isn't it?
Forget your troubles, come on, get happy.
A great play with songs.
And lots of shouting from this
Lots
one.
of shouting from me.
I mean, you've been there, Akshay.
Seen it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fab interview.
I'm with Akshay. I got shouted at a lot by my mum when I was growing up, and it was all deserved.
Didn't do you
every
any
time.
harm, did it?
I did all right. I did all right.
OK, lovely day out there today. How's it shaping up for the rest of the week? John has the latest.
That sunshine really made your eyeshadow pop, you know. And you put the wipe in the bin, not the toilet.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Go ahead, Queen.
Hello again. Well, things clouded up a little bit this afternoon. The best of the sunshine was to be had this morning, like here, down on the Leeds-Liverpool Canal near Wigan. And just look at that sky there at Cliviger, just down the road from Burnley. What a lovely morning it was up there. Now, we've got some rain passing through this evening, but once that pulls away, little ridge of high pressure for tomorrow will give us a fine day ahead of some showery rain edging in for Friday. So back to this evening, well, we've got cloudy skies, we've got quite a lot of rain around, lots of surface water and spray, but gradually that rain will pull away around midnight. The second half of tonight should be dry with clearing skies, and that will allow temperatures to fall away to a minimum of around 9 Celsius, a misty 9 Celsius. Now, there was a lovely sunset yesterday evening, and here's one at Arnside on the Kent Estuary. Tomorrow, the sun's up at 5:03, setting again at 9:12. So a little bit of mistiness, a little bit of low cloud around in the morning. That will soon break away. And then from late morning into tomorrow afternoon, lots of sunshine to come. An absolutely smashing day. Top temperatures a little bit fresher at 20 Celsius, but that sun is still strong. The UV index is 6, and a little bit of high cloud through tomorrow evening shouldn't spoil things too much. But things do go downhill for Friday, I'm afraid. A lot more in the way of cloud. Showery spells of rain edging in from the west. Some of those could be heavy, some of them merging to give some longer spells of rain, and a top temperature only around 15 or 16 Celsius. Towards the weekend, well, Saturday looks as though it's going to be a fine day with some sunshine. It will be a little bit more cloudy, but mostly dry on Sunday.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Those eyebrows are unreal.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV pollen count.
Now, we're in between the tree and the grass pollen at the moment, but it's still high today. It's high tomorrow and Friday. It's down to moderate, though, on Saturday. That's it. Enjoy your evening.
And that is it for tonight's show.
Yeah, John among the flowers there, looking lovely. Tomorrow, though, how to celebrate the anniversary of one of the country's best-known nightclubs, sadly long since gone. Well, with a rave in the car park, of course.
Ooh, do you rave? Have you raved? Did you rave?
I certainly have had my moments, Gamal.
We need to hear about this tomorrow. Tomorrow, more. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I'm not sure.